in other tools, stock forecast toolbox. If you look at if you participate in live trading room or you watch the videos, this is something that I use on daily basis, right? You see 10-day prediction. Model actually saw that 390 will hold, right? It did turn negative, basically showing that we will revisit 381 by end of September, and we actually did. This is before the FedEx, because the data runs based on closing prices from previous days. So even before FedEx, model correctly identified that the 390 level will hold today, but will probably break down in the next 10 days, which I kind of anticipated, but I thought we're actually gonna get to at least 400 level or maybe higher. We have FedEx announcement overnight. Model doesn't know about this. So now we basically reach this level. Instead of end of September, we're already ahead of schedule, right? So that's bearish, right? FedEx caused the equilibrium between bulls and bears to break down, and now bulls have to trade above 390. As long as we're below 390, path of least resistance is to continue going lower. And if you switch to 6 months, right, same model, right, it learns on data movements and makes prediction. Longer term model is extremely bearish, right? It basically says, yes, we can bounce back to 405, 410, maybe, you know, market can overshoot. Maybe we can get to 415, 420, but at 409, you know the market is overbought. It also predicted that 370 is a support, right? So the contrarian mind will say, well, we're already at 380, the low is 370, maybe it's time, especially if we get close to 370, this is probably the time to be long, right? If market is going to get to 370, my portfolio is probably going to be either neutral or slightly positive, because can we get to 360, 355? Maybe, but I know 360 based on the model, market is oversold. Right now, we were at 380. We're getting very close for the market to be extremely oversold, right? And so these models are very helpful to determine the trend, short-term, long-term, key support and resistance levels, right? You have to also realize that you can really assume. So the two things you can derive from this model. You can derive where the support is and where overhead resistance for the most recent data. You also can see that the trend is to the downside. But a lot of people in February will take the screenshot and tell me, well, Vlad, model said February it's going to be 323 and we are at, I don't know, either 200 or we are at 400. A lot of things can happen between now and February, right? And we might or may not reach this level, right? We could. I actually think there's a high probability we will reach 320, maybe not by February, but by March, April, we'll get to 320. But on end of February, it's unreasonable to assume that the market is going to be 323. Same thing for 10-day prediction, right? You can assume that 390 is a support, 395 overhead resistance. You can assume that there is a downtrend, but it says on September 29th we're going to be at 381. You can assume that, right? We're already at 381, so we're either going to be below at 370, or we're actually going to bounce back and we're going to be at 400, right? Both scenarios are plausible. So these data points are showing you as for trend analysis purpose, so you can have reasonable expectations. What are the key levels in the next 10 days or in the next 6 months, but not assume that on certain day any model can predict whether the stock market will be, right? There is no model out there that can tell you what the price of the stock will be on September 28th. It doesn't exist, right? It can tell you downward, upward, range, but a lot of people assume that you can predict where what the closing price will be on certain date. That very difficult, impossible. For next trading session, you can predict the range and close price. You can get very close, and I think that's what this model does. So that's possible, but predicting what's going to happen September 28th is impossible. So I know mostly it's people who new to trading or new to modeling, they open up the tickets, but unfortunately, it's, these tickets always show up. So this would be misinterpretation of what the model can and cannot do, right?